Okay, I've got some ghost stories here that have actually happened to people that I know, so hope you enjoy them. First one is entitled Ghost Dog. Copyright Robert Rue. Some years back, a friend of mine, I'll call him Ken, was up late at night studying. He was in graduate school at a large Midwestern university, and he lived nearby in a small first-floor apartment. The nighttime quiet was suddenly interrupted by loud growling and snarling that seemed to come from just outside his front door. He jumped up and opened the door slightly to see what was happening. 4 or 5 large dogs ringed his front porch, snarling at a small puppy that cowered against the doorsill. Ken grabbed one of his boots and hurled it at the nearest big dog. The boot struck the dog in the nose and it snarled at Ken. He grabbed the other boot to throw, but then the big dogs ran away. Ken stepped outside and retrieved his boot, scooped up the pup, and went back inside. The pup was still shivering in terror and buried its nose between Ken's arm and side. It took a while before Ken could calm the frightened pup enough for it to stop shaking. As he stroked the pup, he could feel its ribs. "Poor little guy," he said softly. "You look awful hungry. Let's get you something to eat." Ken carried the pup into the kitchen and opened his refrigerator. As a grad student, he didn't have much money for food, and all he had was some milk and several slices of day-old pizza. He warmed some milk on the stove and poured it into a saucer for the pup. Eagerly, the pup lapped it up, every last drop, and looked up hopefully for more. Ken laughed, warmed some more milk, and refilled the saucer. When the pup finished this time, it was no longer shivering. He followed Ken back to the study table, flopped down near Ken's feet, and watched Ken intently. Eventually, he went to sleep. Ken had never seen a dog like this one. His coat was short and silver-colored, not gray, but actually silver, and his eyes were icy blue, like a husky's. Later, Ken learned that his pup was a Weimaraner, which was a German hunting breed that once in a while does show such coloration. He was obviously only a few months old and wore no tags or collar. Ken wondered where the pup had come from. Who would let such a rare pup run away like that? Over the next few weeks, Ken asked around and hung some homemade lost dog posters and even called some of the local animal shelters. No one ever called to claim the pup, which was becoming quite attached to Ken. Ken needed a friend, truth be told, at that time, and the pup certainly did too, so Ken decided to keep him. "I'll call you Wizard, for those magical-looking blue eyes," Ken chuckled, and that seemed fine with the pup. He tucked his cold nose between Ken's arm and side and woofed. Wizard and Ken had a great life. They went everywhere together, with Wizard always watching Ken closely. His friends noticed that dog really watches out for you, they said, and they also liked Wizard just as much as Ken did. Wizard loved to fetch, so Ken took him to the nearby pond and threw sticks into the water so he could get them. Each time Wizard returned with the stick, he would shake himself dry, usually right next to Ken. Ken learned to bring a towel when they went to the pond. Wizard would fetch frisbees too, and got quite good at it. He would leap into the air and snag the frisbee on the fly. He rarely missed. But most of all, Wizard loved to wake up Ken in the morning. About 6 o'clock every morning, he would fetch his silver dog dish from the kitchen, quietly bring it in, set it on the carpet next to Ken's bed, and then he would flop down behind it and just wait. Ken grew accustomed to waking up with Wizard's eyes boring into the side of his head. Usually, he would get up and feed Wizard right away. Sometimes, if he had worked late the night before, he would say, "Oh, Wizard, it's not time to get up," and roll back under a blanket. Wizard never growled or barked at him. Wizard would simply seize the edge of Ken's blanket in his teeth and pull on it, gently tugging until Ken gave up and got up to feed him. So Wizard and Ken had a long life together, over 17 years, which made Wizard positively ancient in people years. Eventually, Wizard died peacefully in his sleep one gray spring morning. Ken was heartbroken. When he returned from burying Wizard, the first thing he saw in the kitchen was Wizard's silver dog dish. He couldn't bring himself to throw it out, but he saw it. Whenever he saw it, it reminded him of how much he missed Wizard. Maybe someday I'll get another dog, he thought, but I just can't now. So he stored it in a box in the pantry. About 6 months later, Ken received a job offer that he had always dreamed about. He would be doing work that he really enjoyed, what he'd always wanted to do, with people he mostly already knew, the only problem with it was that the job was in a city about 10 hours from where he lived right now, and he would have to start there in 4 days. He decided to take the job and set about preparing for a quick cross-country move. On Thursday evening, he began to pack his things in boxes. He rented a truck early Friday morning, short night, and worked all day and most of the night loading his furniture and boxes into the truck. After a short nap and breakfast on Saturday, he finished packing and drove to the new location. The company where he was working had owned a small one-story house from a former employee and agreed to let him stay there until he found a place of his own. He arrived on late Saturday night and arose early Sunday morning after another short nap to unpack. Ken finished unpacking and returned the rental truck late Sunday evening. He had had very little sleep since Wednesday, and he was exhausted from all the moving. He didn't even have the energy to make his bed that night. He just rolled up in a blanket and fell asleep immediately. He wasn't asleep long, though, before he began to dream about Wizard. He dreamt that he was throwing frisbee with Wizard, and Wizard was making his usual leaping catches. Ken felt good to play with his dog again. He even thought that he felt Wizard's eyes boring into his back when he rolled over on the bed. Still exhausted and disoriented as he was, he imagined that he saw Wizard lying on the carpet right next to the bed, watching him. Groggily, he muttered, "Oh, Wizard, it's not time to get up yet," and rolled over to go back to sleep. Almost immediately, he felt the familiar tugging on his blanket. And out of long habit, he forced himself to sit up. "All right, Wizard, I'll get your food," he mumbled. He stumbled to the door of the room and stopped short in shocked amazement. The hallway walls blazed bright orange. The house was on fire. Flames edged towards him down the hallway. Ken stood there, stunned, and then slammed the door as he heard Wizard scratching at the windowsill. As Ken stumbled towards the window, he tripped over something. It went boing and rolled under the bed. He opened the window, and Wizard scrambled out. Ken half rolled, half fell out of the window onto the ground beneath and headed for the next-door neighbor's house. He and Wizard had just reached the neighbor's front porch when a fire truck came screaming down the street. It squealed to a stop, and firefighters boiled out of the truck, getting their lines set up. At that moment, the entire roof of Ken's house collapsed with a roar. Flames shot high into the air. In shock, and still only half awake, Ken sat down heavily on the neighbor's porch. He felt Wizard's familiar cold nose between his arm and side. He leaned down and gratefully hugged his dog, knowing that Wizard has just saved his life. Then a fireman came running over to him. "Are you okay? Are you hurt? Is anyone else in the house?" "No, I'm okay," he said. "No one else is in the house." The fireman helped him up and threw a blanket around Ken because it was a cool autumn evening, and walked him to the medic truck to be checked out. At that moment, Ken realized that Wizard wasn't with him anymore. He stopped and looked all around, but Wizard was gone. Ken never saw his dog again, but he knew he would never forget Wizard. Nor, he insists, will he ever forget two things that happened the next morning. As he picked his way through the still smoking remains of the house with the fire marshal to see what he could salvage, he saw the charred main beam that supported the roof laying right across what was left of his bed. Ken shivered because he knew that if it were not for Wizard, it probably would have broken his back and burned him to death in his sleep. And then he remembered tripping on something when he went to the window. He felt surreal as he knelt down to look under the charred remains of his bed, and he saw the glint of metal. To his utter amazement, he pulled out Wizard's silver dog dish. He had no idea how it got there if Wizard hadn't brought it to his room, because it had been stored in a box in the basement on the other side of the house. He had carried it downstairs himself the day before. How did it get to his bedroom, unless Wizard brought it there?